In today's Warcrow topic, we are going to be talking about Alborc, who is a named High Command character in the Northern Tribes faction in Warcrow. So Alborc is the Orc leader half of the Northern Tribes, and he is a Wrathmane, and Wrathmane are the leaders of Orc tribes and broods, and their hair turns a fiery red color. I can talk a little bit more about Wrathmanes in the Wrathmane video, but for all we need to know, that's it. What makes Alborc unique is that he is also known to have very good judgment and decision making, which is often seen more so in wise manes. And if you want to learn more about wise manes, check out that video. So some of his enemies call him a coward. My guess is most likely the orcs of Apo. We'll talk about them in a little bit. But the reason they call him this is because of his decision to move south along with the Varank. His deep connection with the world spirit has given him this reassurance that he is not making a mistake. And so why is it that his connection with the world spirit is, helping him feel more confident? Well, Alborc occasionally experiences memories of a previous life when he's dreaming. If you remember in the Evoker video, we talked about how orcs believe in the world spirit and that within the orc culture, right, they believe that they go through many lives and that the evokers can remember some of these lives. Well, Alborc also believes he's experiencing these when he's dreaming. And in this past life, he dreams that he was commanding an army of orcs, Varank, and dwarves. And they were rising up and fighting against some sort of mysterious enemy, but who or what they are evades him. And his intuition is telling him that this same enemy is rising again sooner than later. So now let's kind of pan over to what the deal is with the northern tribes. So the orcs and the Varank are masters at living in the harsh northern regions known as the Boreal Lands, very much tundra and ice caps and taiga, stuff like that. And so one day Alborc saved a young Varank girl named Hildegard, who's also known as White Stoat, from freezing to death in icy waters. And it just so happens that White Stoat is the daughter of Jarl Alwart, Ice Bear, the Varank leader. And if you want me to talk about Ice Bear, I'd love to, so just let me know down in the comments because he's really, really cool. But Ice Bear is the Varank leader half of the Northern Tribe. So there's kind of two big leaders, Ice Bear or Alwart and Alborc. And so Ice Bear by proxy, his group of Varank owe Alborc a blood debt because Alborc saved his daughter. And so we see within their lore that Hildegard is kind of a uniting force between these two groups and these two northern races. And she often will go between her familial Viking style-esque Varank camps and that of the orcs and Alborc's camps. And so these two leaders have come together over time, and now they are returning to the continent and want to reconquer lost lands. And in this process of their kind of alliance, they have learned each other's customs, cultures, and languages. So why in the world do they even want to head south? Well, first and foremost, the Orc and Varank are originally from the main continent, and due to events from the reign of Gaeasil and the elves in a big war, many hundreds and hundreds of years ago, the Orcs and the Varank were kind of pushed northwards and found themselves in the Boreal Lands. So they kind of want to return for that reason, because they aren't originally from the Northern Land, the Boreal Lands. They're from Lindworm and at least the main continent that we know of right now. But also, more importantly, Alborc believes an evil is slowly advancing from the north. He believes that this is something evil that Lindworm has never seen. They don't know exactly what this evil is, but Alborc calls it the lurking evil, which I think is a great kind of Lovecraftian name, and he believes it will engulf everything in its path. So really the northern tribes, while Alborc and Alwart are kind of tandemly leading it, Alborc is really kind of the linchpin here in getting the momentum behind this faction and getting them to where they are now interacting with all the other groups. So both leaders of the tribes had a difficult time convincing their people to move back south, but for the most part, everybody agreed. Really, the biggest opposition came from an orc named Agate, who is the chief of the Apo brood orcs. And I talked about the Apo orcs a little bit in the Orc Hunter video. And so within the region of Apo, there is a fortress called the Fortress of Troma. And I kind of talked about it once again in an Orc Hunter video, but it says a big orc lives there who doesn't like Alborc, and I'm unsure if that orc's name is also Troma or if it's a different name. But regardless, big orc doesn't like Alborc. And it's just not just big, it's described as a gigantic orc Wrathmane. Anyway, he is apparently amassing a big army to descend and conquer the world when ready. However, they're not currently ready yet. And any of the orcs who pretty much didn't agree with Alborc, most of them moved to this fortress, or moved and went with the orcs of Apo to this fortress. So that's kind of the stage now and kind of where we are with the Northern Tribes. And Alborc. And so why is Alborc cool? Well, one, I really like that Alborc exemplifies why I like Warcrow orcs. Once again, Northern Tribes were kind of my first faction, mainly because everybody else wanted to play hegemony, and so I just kind of started playing them to have hegemony people play against me, and I fell in love with them. But I'm not a big fan of the dumb brute orc motif, although it can be really, really fun. I just see it so much. And in Warcrow, it's nice that in Lindworm, it's nice that the orcs are a little different, right? Alborc and all the other orcs are intelligent, yet also brutal and cunning, and Alborc kind of rises above all of that. What I really, really like about Alborc and kind of the lore connection is this mysterious lurking dark. This is probably one of my favorite lore points. I love mysteries in fantasy and in stories, and I just really want to know what this lurking dark is. I like kind of the eldritch vibe or Lovecraftian kind of aesthetic it has. Just all we really know is that it's something evil, something mercurial-ish, and it's in the north, farther north than the orcs and stuff. And so I really think it's cool that it's like kind of pervading his dreams, and I'm really curious about what's going to happen to the orcs in Apo, because I really, really do think they're going to be a future faction. It'd be really cool to see that big orc. But I think what we could potentially see in the lore, and this is just me guessing and maybe projecting my hopes, is maybe these orcs that have stayed behind will get consumed by the lurking dark, and now we'll have some sort of like evil orcs, for lack of better words. But I'm really, really interested to see kind of where that goes and what happens. And with that, this lore video about Alborc comes to an end. If you have any units you'd like to see more lore videos about, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to follow this channel to get more Warcrow lore, and if you survive the fog, I'll see you in the next video.